Sorry, my other video cut off. So basically, Chicago Tribune was very vague about the story, about what happened, but I'm just going to report it anyway. So Chicago Tribune said, with the little details that they provided, was that, the shooter was on foot, and, my brother and his friend, decided to split up, run opposite directions to throw whoever was chasing them, off their game. And, I guess whoever the shooter was chased my brother. I guess that was his selective choice. So my brother got chased down, and according to the Chicago Tribune, he went behind the alleyway at a church, walked behind the back door, and the shooter confronted him and shot him. And what doesn't make sense to me, and I'm gonna have to go back on the Chicago Tribune and make sure that I have my information correct, but what I perceive off of what happened from the Chicago Tribune's perspective was that basically he got shot behind the church and he was dragged out to some other street, because he died on Woodlawn, but his body was laid out in the middle of the street, or the middle of the it was like a little streetway. Like, it was not a streetway, but it was like a pile of grass, dead grass and dirt. And he was laid out in the middle of that area in another street that they claimed he died at. Like I said, I don't have very good information right now because I have to get my facts straight from Chicago Tribune and make sure that all the information is correct. But based off of what I read from Chicago Tribune, he got shot, or either one or two things. He got shot behind the church, and he was dragged out to a more public spot, or he was chased behind the Chicago Woodlawn church, and when he made it out to a specific area of grass, he was shot then. I don't know. I'm going to have to get my story straight and read it. But that's the Chicago Tribune's story, is that the shooter was on foot. It wasn't a drive-by. The shooter was on foot. And the shooter was, they didn't have very much information on the fact that they went to the grocery store, or, the convenience store, or gas station, or none of that. They just said that basically my brother was playing basketball. He noticed, him and his friend noticed that they were being followed by somebody on foot, and they separated. They separated, and the person who was on foot chose him, and chased after him, shot him 3 times in the face, and that was brutal. That was very brutal. And then my family's, and when I say family, I don't just mean my family, I mean his family too, because we were family. But I'll say our family. Our families told me. Well, I got several different stories, but the ones that I can remember specifically is, number one, don't nobody know nothing, which is strange. Because if it were my son, my brother, I would want to find out who did this. And either, in my head, I would be fantasizing about doing that person and, doing the same thing to them that they did to my brother. But realistically, in my heart, I know I wouldn't do that. It's not in my heart to commit murder. I probably would fantasize about it. I'd probably fantasize about it, but I wouldn't actually do it. Seriously, on a serious note. But yeah, I would want to know who did it. Especially if I can easily find out, the longer I wait, the less chances I have and the more time that the killers could have destroyed evidence. So in my head, if it was my son or my brother, I would want to get down to the bottom of it. And I think it's strange that nobody is looking into it. And I feel like I'm the only one that's looking into it. So that's one thing that I think is strange. Well, I'm sure there are some family members that are looking into it, but they're discreet about it. But I feel like I'm the only one speaking about it publicly. So I don't know what's going on, but I think it's strange. And I also think it's strange that literally less than 24 hours, like less than 2 hours apart. Less than 2 hours apart, if anything 2 hours, no more than 2 hours apart, did our strange events happen, and for reasons that were undeserving. Like, yeah, we may have been rebellious, but I did not deserve to get robbed, and he did not deserve to get killed. You feel me? And I'm gonna be honest, I was rebellious too. I skipped class too. Stayed out late with my homies, chilling, smoking, having a good time. I don't care, because I have nothing to hide. As far as like being ashamed, everybody got secrets, everybody got privacy, but that there's certain things that happen in certain people's life where when they tell you, you're like, oh my goodness, that's not even that big a deal. Yeah, I mean, I can understand why you'd be embarrassed, but there's so many people out there who've done way worse, right? Right. And then there are some people who have done things that they should be ashamed of, like rape, pedophilia, murder, snitching. Those are crimes against humanity that human beings should be ashamed of. Now, I can't speak for my brother because I don't know what sins he's done, and I'm not going to play God and say what sins he's done. But as far as what I know from my brother, yeah, he played too much, but I play too much too. Like, me and him had so much in common. Like, I played too much, he played too much. He skipped school, I skipped school. He was smoking, drinking, chilling with his homies. I was smoking, drinking, chilling with my homies. He moved out of his mom's house. I moved out of my mom's house. And this is in no means pointing guilt towards any of our family members. I'm not doing that to my black brothers and sisters. This is not what this is about. I'm talking about being a targeted individual. Being a targeted individual and the criteria that it takes to be considered a targeted individual. I'm speaking for a targeted individual. I'm not here to point any blame or place blame on anyone or make people think that it was an inside job or family members, because I don't know that. So please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. What I'm saying specifically is, who would have had access to me and his phone lines during those times and hours? Who would have had access to either of our phone lines during that time? Who would have known where both of us were and where we were both going? Like, who was able to track us, basically, and track where we were going, and to be able to follow us in the first place? Those are questions that need to be answered. And why did his murder happen just 2 hours before I got robbed? Isn't that traumatizing? Like, I'm not trying to make it about me, because trust me, my almost 5 year silence was me paying homage and giving my respects to him. This whole time I've been silent and not saying a word was because I respect him. And I wanted to honor his death by staying silent. But I'm starting to think that being silent is what got him killed in the first place, or is the reason why his murder investigation has not been solved and is probably a closed case. Because think about it. His funeral was just a few days after he was murdered, number one. Number two, how are they going to gather any evidence if, don't nobody, all his family members and my family members, none of them know anything? Who has access to his autopsy reports? Think about it. Just think about it. His family was left in the dark. My family was left in the dark. Nobody, and everybody's bringing different stories or different interpretations of what's happened. Even I have a different story, and I wasn't even there. My story is coming from the Chicago Tribune, which does not match up with the stories that both of our family members are telling me. Who had access to his phone line and my phone line? First off. Second off, who were the people who knew where we were going? Meaning, who was able to track us from the moment we were being followed that night to the end of the night? Who would have been able to get that information? Okay, that's the first question. Who? Now, another point I'm going to bring up. We were both rebellious, okay? Yes, we were both rebellious. We both did things that, you don't just brag about to your family members or to your parents. You hear the sirens? You hear it? You hear the sirens? I'm going to get to that point later. It's a police officer right around the way. And I can't really record them because, like I said, it's too dark outside. But you heard the sirens, so that's all the proof I need. And they're right across the street. I'm just sitting here recording because I'm just enjoying the Mother Nature. I'm enjoying being outside. I love being outside. Most of my recordings are outside. I'm outside all the time, just walking, exercising, getting my spiritual connection with Mother Nature, with the moon and with the sun. So I ain't got no issues with being outside, whether it's 12 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. The only difference is I'm not smoking and drinking and chilling.